Jace's ship was old and broken, held together with hope and rust. He didn't mean to crash, but the moment he entered the strange planet's orbit, something pulled him down. He shouted into the controls. Nothing listened. The ship twisted like a falling leaf, then slammed into the soft red sand with a hiss. Smoke rose from the wreck, but Jace was alive. He coughed and looked outside the cracked window. The world was quiet, too quiet. He stepped out and saw ruins in the distance, tall stone towers broken in half, symbols glowing faintly like they still remembered something. Jace walked carefully, each step sinking a little in the sand. His boots crunched over bones, old ones not human. He had chased an ancient signal, one not heard in 1,000 years. It came from this place, a planet marked forbidden by every map. He should have listened. But Jace was never good at listening. A soft hum vibrated under his feet. He followed it toward a staircase that led underground. The air was thick like it hadn't moved in years. He lit a flare. The walls were covered in carvings, strange shapes. Some looked like stars, some looked like screams. At the end of the tunnel, he found a chamber. A girl was chained in the center, thin alien. Her skin shimmered like silver, and her eyes glowed with deep purple light. She looked at him without surprise, like she knew he would come. "You should not be here," she said quietly. Jace raised his hands. "I don't want trouble," he said. "I just followed a signal." The girl looked down. "It wasn't calling you, it was warning you." Before Jace could speak, a loud crack echoed behind him. He turned. Figures in black robes entered, their faces hidden, their hands holding strange weapons. The girl whispered, "Run," but Jace didn't. He grabbed a broken rod from the floor and swung it at the nearest figure. The cultists were fast, but Jace was faster. He fought like a man with nothing to lose. One cultist fell, another tripped over the old chains. Jace grabbed the girl and pulled her close. "This way," he said. He didn't know where he was going, but anywhere was better than here. They ran through the tunnels. Lights began to flicker. Walls shook. Whispers followed them, not in words, but in thoughts. The girl winced. "The artifact is awake. We have little time." "What artifact?" Jace asked as they turned a corner. She looked at him with pain in her eyes. "The thing that should never be touched. The reason this planet died." Jace didn't understand, but he didn't let go of her hand. They reached a small door. She touched it, and it opened with a sigh. Like the ruins themselves were tired. Inside was a safe room, old tech flickered on the wall, maps of stars, energy readings, all ancient, all dying. Jace sealed the door. The girl sat on the floor, her chains still glowing. "Why are you chained?" he asked. She looked up slowly. "Because I was born to end this world, but I refused, so they kept me here waiting for the day I give in." Jace didn't speak. He watched her as she trembled. "Still strong, still alive. You don't have to die," he said. But she only smiled. "If I don't, the galaxy burns." A deep sound rumbled through the walls. The artifact was waking outside. The cult gathered again, chanting, waiting inside. The humans sat with the alien girl, both uncertain, both unwilling to let go. Jace looked at her, and for the first time she looked like someone who didn't want to be alone. Zara's breath was slow and heavy. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark room. Jace sat near her, watching the strange lines of energy move along her chains. He had seen many things across galaxies, but never something like her, alive but trapped, calm but burning inside. Outside the safe room, the chants grew louder, low and deep, like a storm rolling through bones. Zara turned her head slightly. "They have found us," she said. "The cult knows you're here." Jace stood up. Quickly he checked the wall for anything useful. There was nothing. No weapons, no hidden exit, just a map of the temple's inner structure. It looked like veins of a living creature. And at the center was a black circle pulsing faint light. "The artifact," he pointed at the circle. "That's where it is, right?" Zara nodded slowly. "They believe it will give them the power to break time, to cross galaxies in seconds, to rule without death." Jace frowned, but at what cost? She didn't answer. Instead, she looked down at her hands. My people tried to seal it long ago, but we failed. The artifact needs life to stay asleep. I was born with the code in my blood. I was meant to sacrifice myself to end it forever. Jace stepped back. So you're the key, you're the weapon. She nodded again. They raised me in silence, taught me only one purpose. To die at the right moment, but you didn't. Her voice cracked slightly. I saw what happened. To the others, those who tried the artifact took their minds before it took their bodies. I was afraid, so I ran, but they caught me and chained me near it, waiting for me to choose death. Jace stared at her. His heart pounded louder than the drums outside. He had met soldiers, smugglers, queens, and pirates, but never someone like her. You're more than a weapon, he said. Zara's eyes met his. No one ever said that before. Suddenly, the room shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A sharp voice echoed from beyond the walls. Zara, of the lost blood. You are summoned, the cult leader, tall and cruel. His voice wrapped around the room like ice. Jace moved to the door. He spoke loud. She's not going anywhere, laughter replied. You think you matter, human. You are already part of the offering, just like her. Zara stood up slowly. The chains pulsed faster, her skin lit with faint golden lines. Jace looked at her, shocked. What's happening? She gritted her teeth. The artifact is calling. It knows. I'm near. It knows you are with me. It's feeding on our connection. Jace pulled out the broken rod he had used earlier. I won't let them take you. She placed her hand on his chest. You don't understand. They don't need to take me. If I walk close to the artifact, it will begin the end. He shook his head. Then we don't let that happen. We find another way. Zara looked at him for a long time. No one has ever said that to me. They all wanted me to die for the greater good. I'm not everyone, Jace said. I don't leave people behind. Another explosion rocked the chamber. The door cracked slightly. Zara turned toward the back wall. There's a tunnel behind this panel. I saw it when I was dragged here. We can escape. Jace helped her pull. The panel loose behind it was a tight space, barely big enough for one person. He let her go first, then followed the light behind them, faded. The tunnel was hot and smelled like metal and ash. Their feet made soft sounds as they moved through the dark. Suddenly Zara stopped ahead. Was a strange light floating, not fire, not tech. It pulsed in the same rhythm as her breath. She whispered, "We are closer than I thought." Jace looked ahead. He didn't know what the artifact was, but he knew one thing. He was not going to let her die for it, not while he was still breathing. The tunnel narrowed as they moved deeper into the ground. Zara's steps were slower now, her breath shaky, her skin dimmer. Jace watched her closely. Something was wrong. The closer they got to the artifact, the weaker she became. He reached out to steady her, but she pulled away. "You shouldn't touch me," she said softly. "It hurts more when someone cares." Jace didn't move back. He kept walking beside her, even if her words were sharp. Her eyes were soft. They reached an open chamber. The ceiling was cracked. Light from above poured down like liquid gold. In the center was a pool of glowing energy shaped like a heart. Beating slowly, Zara fell to her knees, her hands trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "This is the outer chamber. The artifact rests beyond that wall." Jace looked at the wall. It was covered in symbols, and at the center, a handprint. Zara's handprint. He turned to her. "You don't have to do this." She looked up, tears forming in her bright eyes. "I was born to. I was trained to. If I don't, it will wake fully, and nothing can stop it." Jay shook his head. "Then we stop it another way." "There is no other way," she said. "I'm not afraid anymore. I just want it to end." Jace knelt beside her. He pulled something from his jacket. A small device, dusty and half-broken, but still working. Zara frowned. "What's that?" "A translator core. I used it to decode ancient languages. But I've been feeding it temple symbols since we arrived. It showed me something." He activated the screen. Symbols danced, then formed an image to beings standing side by side. One like Zara, the other human. Zara gasped. That's not in our history. It was buried. Hidden. They never told you the truth. The artifact was never meant to be destroyed by one life. It was made to be sealed by two, equal in sacrifice. But alive Zara shook her head. Why would they lie? Because fear is easier than hope. And control is stronger when people think they have no choice. She touched the screen. Her hand trembled, but her eyes were wide. Jace smiled. I won't let you die. Not if there's a path we haven't tried yet. Another tremor rocked the chamber. A crack formed on the far wall. Voices echoed. The cult had found the tunnel. Sarah stood, her legs shaking, but her eyes full of fire. Then let's try together. Jace helped her across the chamber. The wall responded to her presence, symbols lighting up. But as she touched the handprint, the energy pushed her back. Jace stepped forward. He pressed his hand beside hers. Nothing happened at first. Then the wall shivered and opened slowly, like a blooming flower. Behind it, the artifact hovered. It was beautiful and terrifying, a spinning core of light. With shadows trapped inside, whispers filled the room, offering promises, secrets, power. Zara cried out. Her chains glowed again, her body shaking violently. Jace grabbed her, held her close. He shouted over the noise, "You are not alone." Zara looked up, her face pale, her lips forming the words together. They stepped into the chamber. The artifact pulsed, recognizing them both. Light surrounded them, and the cult screamed from behind. Too late to stop what had already begun. The chamber sealed itself. Zara's chains dissolved into dust. Jace reached for her hand. For the first time, she took his. The door closed behind them like the mouth of a beast. No way back, only forward. Zara stood in the glow of the artifact, her body steady, but her breath sharp like knives. Jace looked around. The walls were covered in moving symbols. They changed with every second, telling stories from before time began. This is not just a weapon, he whispered. It's a memory. Zara nodded. It remembers all who ever touched it. It stores their thoughts, their dreams, their fears. He stepped closer. The energy shifted around him. It reacted to his presence, soft at first, then stronger, like it recognized something. Inside him, Zara's eyes widened. You're not just human. You carry something old. Jace didn't understand. I'm just a scavenger, a traveler, nothing special. But the artifact pulsed when he spoke. A golden wave spread across the chamber. Zara fell to her knees. Pain twisted her face. She clutched her chest. Jace ran to her side. What's wrong? It's linking to me again. Trying to complete the ritual. It thinks I am ready to die. He grabbed her shoulders. Then don't let it fight it. She looked at him, tears falling. I'm too tired. Too broken. Then use me, he said. Firmly, use my strength. We do this together. Zara blinked slowly. Her hands found his, and their skin began to glow. The artifact spun faster. Symbols flew into the air like birds of light. Visions filled the room. Stars, dying worlds, burning empires, falling, and then a single tree growing alone in the dark. Zara gasped. That's hope. It never showed me that before. The artifact flickered. It was confused, uncertain. Something in Jace's presence disturbed its plan. The cult screamed outside the walls, chanting louder. They were forcing the artifact to awaken. We have to seal it now, Zara said. Before they break in. Jace looked around. There must be a control point, something that finishes the ritual without killing you. Zara pointed to a raised platform. That's where the last link happens. It takes my life to complete it, unless I go to Jace said quietly. She stared at him. No. You don't belong to this world. You can leave. You still have time. He shook his head. Not without you, she tried to argue. But his hand was already on the panel. The platform lit up. Golden and blue, human and alien. Zara stepped onto the other side. Their eyes locked. The artifact rose higher. Cracks forming on its surface. The chamber rumbled. Reality twisted. Jace saw memories that were not his. Zara as a child, locked in a cage, whispering to the stars, begging for freedom. He stepped forward, touched her face gently. You deserve to live your own story. She nodded slowly. Then let's write it together. The panel rose. Lifting them above the artifact, winds swirled, time bent, the air shook with power outside. The cult shattered the wall, rushed in to late Zara and Jace, glowed brighter than the stars. Their voices joined in one sound. Not a scream, not a cry, but a promise. The artifact cracked, then burst into 1,000 pieces, each one fading like a dying light. The cult dropped to their knees, their power gone, their leader silent, broken. The chamber went dark, and then a soft breath. Zara opened her eyes, still alive, still glowing. Jace fell to one knee. Exhausted but smiling, they had done the impossible, and the storm had passed. The chamber was quiet, too quiet. The artifact had shattered, its light gone, but something still hummed in the air. Like a final breath, holding back the end, Zara stood with weak legs. Her skin shimmered faintly, not silver, not gold, but something in between. Jace reached for her. She leaned into him, her body heavy, her heart still beating. We did it, she whispered. The artifact is broken. Jace looked around. The air was thick with dust and fading light, but something felt wrong. He stepped forward, and the floor changed beneath him. Not stone, not metal, but energy. A platform rose, and at its center, a core still spinning. Zara gasped. It survived the heart of the artifact. Jace's jaw tightened. Then we end it here. She shook her head. You don't understand. This part is bound to my life. If we destroy it, I die. He stared at her. No. There has to be another way. Zara touched the edge of the spinning core. It sang at her touch. Soft, almost kind. She turned to Jace. This is what I was made for. My death will seal it. No one else has to suffer. Jace clenched his fists. And what about you? You just vanish while the galaxy celebrates. She smiled. That's enough for me. He stepped forward. Not for me. She frowned. Why do you care so much? Because I've seen too many die thinking they were worthless, and they weren't. Because I know what it feels like to be alone and forgotten and used. He pulled a small device from his jacket. A second core cracked and dusty. Zara's eyes widened. Where did you get that? From a forgotten lab on a forgotten moon. It holds genetic imprinting. It copies soul patterns. She took a step back. That's dangerous, illegal. Jace nodded. That's why it works. He placed the core next to the artifact's heart. Let it think it's taking you when it's only taking your echo. Zara looked at the device, then at him. But if it fails, then I die with you. Why would you do that? Because you're not just some girl in chains. You're a life, a voice, and I'm not leaving here without you. Tears rolled down her cheeks. No one ever said that to me. Jay smiled. Then it's about time someone did. She nodded slowly. Okay, let's try your crazy plan together. They activated the device. The chamber began to shift. The walls moved like waves. The heart of the artifact pulled energy from the room. Zara held on to Jace. Their thoughts, merging. The device glowed red, then blue, then pure white. The cult screamed from the shadows, their powers fading with every pulse. They ran, afraid, broken. The heart cracked. A scream of ancient voices filled the chamber. Zara collapsed. Jace caught her. He looked into her eyes. Still here, barely, she whispered. Then hold on. The core exploded in a burst of light, the sound of 1,000 galaxies folding into silence. Then nothing, only darkness and a heartbeat. Zara opened her eyes. Jace beside her, still breathing. The heart was gone. No more energy, no more whispers, just peace. You did it, she said. No, we did. She smiled, and for the first time it felt real. The silence did not last. The walls began to shake. The floor cracked beneath their feet. From deep below, a low sound rose, not like thunder, more like something ancient crying out. Zara pulled away from Jace, her hands glowing again. The glow was brighter, sharper, almost painful. She looked at him, fear in her eyes. It's not over. something is wrong. Jace helped her stand. He scanned the room. The artifact's heart was gone. The core was shattered, but the platform they stood on was sinking below them. A pit of swirling energy opened. Colors, twisted voices howled. "It's the artifact's soul," she whispered, "the final part." Buried deeper than anyone knew, Jace stared at the storm below. "What happens if it escapes?" Zira did not answer. The chamber's roof began to break apart. Chunks of stone fell. The sky above was no longer black, but full of red lightning. The cult had awakened the final layer. A secret they never truly understood. Zara stepped toward the edge. She looked ready to jump. Jace grabbed her arm. "No, you're not doing this again. I have to," she said. "This is what it's been waiting for. This storm, this final scream, it needs me to complete its death." Jace shook his head. "Then it can wait." She looked at him, her voice calm but sad. "It won't wait, and if I do nothing, it will swallow this world and the next. There's always another way," he said. She smiled softly. "Not always." The floor cracked louder. They fell to their knees. Below them, the storm reached higher, clawing at the sky. Zira leaned forward. "Let me go," Jace pulled her close. "No," she closed her eyes. "Just let me go." "Please," but Jace held tighter. "You don't get to beg for death. Not after everything we survived. Not after what you just became." She opened her eyes. "What do you mean?" He looked at her, really looked. Her skin was not fading. It was becoming brighter, stronger. Her voice was clear, her presence steady. "You're not dying, you're changing." Zira blinked. "What if the artifact gave me something, a piece of its core?" "Then use it," he said. "Use it to end this without giving yourself away." She stood, hands trembling but her feet firm. She raised her arms, closed her eyes. The storm below howled louder. Lightning struck the edges of the chamber, but she did not move. Jace watched. Her power flowed through her like a river. The sky cracked open. The cult screamed in fear. Zara whispered a word in her own tongue, and the artifact screamed a sound so sharp, so pure. The walls turned white. The storm collapsed inward. Jace felt pressure in his chest. His ears rang, but he stayed still. Zara glowed like a second sun. The storm below shattered. The voices silenced. The wind stopped. Everything went quiet. Zara opened her eyes and fell backward. Jace caught her again. She looked up at him. "Did it work?" He nodded. The sky was blue again. The chamber still. The cult was gone. "You did it," he said. "We did," she whispered. He carried her to the surface. The temple behind them faded, stone turning to dust, energy vanishing into the air. They reached the hill and looked at the stars. No more chains, no more voices, just freedom. The wind was quiet now. The sky above was soft and clear. The temple ruins lay behind them. Nothing left but dust and stone. No sound, no threat. No whisper of the artifact. Zara sat on a rock near the hilltop, her hands in her lap, her eyes looking at the stars. Jay stood a few steps behind his ship, broken, his body bruised, but his heart calm. They had survived. She breathed slowly, still expecting pain. Still waiting for the chains to return. But there was nothing, no weight, no call, no voice in her head. She turned to Jace. "Is it really over?" He nodded. "If not, then we'll fight again." She gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. He noticed. "You're still thinking about it, aren't you?" She looked down. "All my life I was raised to be one thing. A sacrifice, a weapon, a key to something terrible. And now you're free." "That's the strange part," she said. "I don't know what to do with freedom." Jace walked closer. "Then start small, pick something you've never done before, and do it." Like what? He shrugged. "Like choosing your own path. Like building something, or just watching the stars without being afraid." She looked up. The stars were bright, not cruel this time, but open. "I want to know what it means to live," she said quietly. "Not just survive, not just serve. Then we find out together." She blinked together. Jay sat beside her. "There's a big galaxy out there, plenty of places to go, plenty of people to help. If you want, we can start somewhere new, just you and me. She was silent, then she reached out. Her fingers brushed his. No chains, no fear, only choice. You should know something, she said. I still feel it inside me, a part of the artifact, but it doesn't hurt anymore. It listens. Jace raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I think it became something else. Not a weapon, not a curse. Just energy waiting for direction, and I can guide it now without dying. He stared at her, then laughed softly. Of course you can. You turned the most feared thing in the galaxy into your shadow, she smiled. I had help. They looked at the broken sky. The sunrise was coming gentle and golden. Jace stood beside her. So, what now? She asked. He pointed at the horizon. There's an outpost on the next moon. Maybe we find supplies, maybe we steal a ship, or build one, and maybe we find a quiet place to rest. You've earned it, she nodded. But I don't want to rest too long. I want to see what's out there with my own eyes, not through someone else's plan. Jace grinned. That sounds like a good future. They walked down the hill, step by step. Leaving behind the world that almost killed them, no one knew what they had done. No one would sing songs or write stories, but they didn't need that because she was alive and he was beside her. And for the first time she felt whole. She wasn't made to live, but now she would live more than anyone ever dared. Not as a weapon, not as a sacrifice, but as herself.